right, so these are the steps that you'll use to factor using the box method is what I call it, okay? So if you want to just write box method, these are the steps. So in case at first you need to follow these steps, you forget, you know exactly what to do. After a while, though, it should be just habit, okay? So first thing is and this is the same as what you learned last year, is you find the factors of A times C. So you multiply the coefficient or the leading coefficient of x squared times the constant, and you want them to add up to using the box method. So you're going to make your box. You are going to put the first term in the top left square of the box, and the last term, or this is also your constant, okay, if you want to make a note of it, usually. Put that in the bottom right. Then you're going to write your two factors that you find in the remaining two squares with the variable. Then once you have everything in the square or in the box, you're going to factor the greatest common factor, or the GCF, out of each column and row, and you write the outside binomials as your factors. Okay, so let's do an example following these steps here. So go ahead and write this example: 2n squared minus 17n minus 30. So when factoring, though, you always want to check for what first, no matter what? Yeah. So do 2, 17, and 30 have a common factor? No, they do not. So then, since the number in front of n squared is not 1, then we need to go 2 times negative 30 is negative 60. And we need to list factors of negative 60 that add up to the middle term of negative 17, okay? So then we list the factors of 60. We have 1 and 60, 2 and what? 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 6 and 10, 7, 8, 9, and then we're back to 10. So what now, if they multiply to be a negative, then 1 is negative and 1 is positive. So which pair, if 1 is negative, 1 is positive, works to add up to negative 17? 20 and 3, right? So which one would have to be negative? 20 is negative, 3 is positive. So we're going to circle that, okay? And so far, this is the same as what you did last year, right? Okay? Now is where we make our square, or the box. It's 2 by 2 square, like so. And then we're on step 2 here. So then we're going to put the first term that we're factoring, the 2n squared, in the top left box. Then we're going to put the last term, or the constant, in the bottom right. So negative 30 is down here. And then the two factors that we found here that are circled, we're going to put them here with the variable, because these, and we know this from multiplying, we always had our diagonals were our like terms, right? So these should combine to be this middle term. So that's where we get the negative 20n and 3n. Okay, now we factor out the greatest common factor in each column and row. So this column of 2n squared and 3n, what's the greatest common factor? An n, right? And then here, negative 20n and a negative 30. If they're both negative, you always factor out a negative, okay? So what's the greatest common factor of negative 20n and negative 30?
10.
Negative 10. Good. Now, then we go to this row. 2n squared and negative 20n. What's the greatest common factor? A 2n. And this row? 3. A 3. Now, what's a way that we could check to see if we factored correctly? That we already have done. Multiply them. So if you multiply 2n times n, is it 2n squared? If we multiply 2n times negative 10, okay, so you can easily check to see if you're right. And then your factors are just right here. Okay, and that's not a negative. I just underlined that. Let me fix that. Okay, so then our final answer is going to be n minus 10 times 2n plus 3. Nope, it really doesn't matter which one you write first, right? Because 3 times 7 is the same as 7 times 3. Okay, let's do another one. Questions, though, on the steps right now? Okay, let's do one more of these in our notes here. So 7a to the 4th minus a cubed minus 8a squared. Okay, so if we factor out a squared first, we'll have a squared times the quantity, what's left? 7a squared minus 8. So now, since the number in front of a squared is not 1, then we have to go 7 times negative 8. So negative 56, that add up to a negative 1, right? Because that's the middle term. So factors of 56, can you guys think of it already, though? What is half of 56? 28. Okay. Anyhow, but we should be able to figure out it's 7 and 8. Which one would have to be negative to add up to negative 1? Negative 8. So then we're going to circle those. Then make our square here. What term goes in the top left square? The first one, so 7a squared. In the bottom right, negative 8. And what goes in the two remaining? Our factors, and the nice thing here is it wouldn't matter which one I put where. I would get the same thing, okay? So if we go 7a and a negative 8a, nope, it does not. That's the nice thing about it. So this column, 7a squared and 7a, what's the greatest common factor? A 7a. What about negative 8a and a negative 8? It'll be a negative 8. And then once you have one side of the square, then you can say, if it's easier for you to think like this, you could go 7a times what is 7a squared? And that would have to be an a, right? And then you could go 7a times what is 7a? Well, that has to be a 1, because that is the greatest common factor of 7a negative 8. And then we write here are the factors then. So then we have 7a minus 8 times a plus 1. Oh, yes. You leave that in your answer. Thank you, Savannah. Okay? Questions on that right now? Okay.